If you are someone who uses an albuterol inhaler, I am a respiratory therapist, and I suggest you get a refill on your inhaler soon. We are experiencing a real shortage of these inhalers, and if you need one you may not be able to get one. Because of how this virus spreads, we are not able to use nebulizer treatments with COVID patients, so we turn to inhalers instead. Unfortunately, this has caused a real shortage to begin. I already know of some pharmacies that are totally out of albuterol inhalers. Please don't panic buy inhalers. There are people who are running out and need them right now. In the USA we're kept on a short leash by our prescribing doctors, so it's difficult if not impossible to panic buy prescription drugs. I will throw my .02 in on this. I was born with asthma/allergies and have had more than my fair share of battles with it. 20 plus years ago it became debilitating, and I've been living with around 60% lung function ever since. I'm not one to panic buy, but will gladly tell you most people would definitely panic if they lived the life of a severe asthmatic and each breath feels like it might be the last. Good thing is I conserve meds and use just when needed, so I have a few for backup. What helps me much more and is by far cheaper is a nebulizer, which I have a battery-powered travel unit as well as a desktop-sized one at home. People should really go this route if possible, as neb solutions are drastically cheaper, easy to find and usually more effective than a rescue inhaler. I told my son to get a refill 2 months ago. You'll never guess who didn't get a refill. Americans don't seem to understand the concept of limited supply and supply disruption. It's not just an American thing. Most of the developed world suffers normalcy bias. Post-war, demand has always been met, product always available. The idea that the system is actually very fragile is simply an idea most will not consider. Even now, people think things will get back to normal soon. As the system evolved, with its ever more efficient supply chains and outsourced production, overly concentrated in locations of low-cost labor, it's become ever more maladapted to the realities of the world, namely that global-scale events occur. Regional and global-scale disasters, complex geopolitical disruptions, despite obvious warnings, are simply not factored in. Due to an unusually stable and uneventful 75 years, the incredibly naive assumptions of globalism was the system, no matter how thin, over-optimized or lacking in redundancy, would continue to simply work, delivering plenty of everything for everyone. Frankly, I don't think we've even begun to experience the problems that are going to manifest themselves as the situation drags on, and drag on it almost certainly will. Eesh. I was worried about this. I have about 100 puffs left in mine, but have plenty of nebulizer treatments if it comes down to it. I figured since I should be fine with having those, it leaves an inhaler out there for someone else that may really need it. Sadly, my doctor will not give me a refill unless I go into the office, which is in the hospital. Shame. Wow, really? My doctor will get me a prescription if I make an appointment to visit in the future. Given currently events, he didn't even ask for that. If you're in the US, all doctors' offices are now allowed to lower their standards in regards to prescriptions, within reason of course. I just refilled my inhaler, and while I ought to have had a checkup, we scheduled it for late summer and the refill was still sent to the pharmacy right away. Thank you for posting this. I've been spending so much time taking care of other people I didn't even think about getting a refill of my inhaler. I wouldn't have until it was too late. So thank you again. Phew, yuck. My worst nightmare is running out of my inhaler. Can you get over-the-counter ones here in the States? Why can't you use nebulizer treatments? Now, it's not the best thing, but for a last resort, bronchite can help when you have trouble breathing. It is a stimulant, so if you have heart or blood pressure issues, be careful. It's also an expectorant for mucus. It has helped me a lot when I had colds that messed up with my asthma. I don't have asthma symptoms always present, but when I get sick, my asthma becomes very present. I have a couple inhalers somewhere in my bedroom. One of them I left in my car over the summer. I hope it's still good. No. No, you can't. Inhalers have to be prescribed by a doctor. Thanks for posting. Last week I had called my DR about refilling mine as well as the prescription for my nebulizer, as I noticed both were out of date. She sent me 3 inhalers. Hopefully that should last. May I ask why the nebulizer treatments don't work? It's not that they don't work, it's that we want to avoid putting anything in the air. Patients breathing on a nebulizer for 10 minutes or so is putting a lot of stuff into the air, which is how the virus is spread. Gotcha. Thanks for the reply. Is albuterol helping patients if they do not reach the point of requiring ventilators? Personally, I don't think albuterol does much for these patients. Albuterol is for bronchospasm, which is the inflammation of your airways. Now this virus can cause some of that to happen if you already have asthma or COPD because it causes irritation in the lungs. So it can help with that a little bit if that's there. But the virus itself is still going to ravage the lungs and cause pneumonia. Albuterol can't do anything to stop that.